And I think we are back. Yes, we're back. Sorry we took a little break, but now we've talked about the Phantom Menace.
That kind of wraps up our feelings on it. We thought we might have more to talk about, but other than it's fun, we enjoyed it. We can't really find much else to talk about.
I would recommend seeing it, and I would definitely say the theater does make a difference.
Absolutely. But other than that, there's not really a whole lot more to dig into that. I'm sure more Star Wars oriented people could do so.
Yes, there's plenty of them out there. Okay.
So, moving on today to the equally as serious and
equally as original
and inclined. It is an original property. It wasn't an adaptation. It's not a based on a Marvel property, which would have happened more or less right after the sequel came out. But today we're talking about National Treasure.
It came out in November of
stealing the Declaration of Independence.
It's great. Honestly, very fun. It came out in 2004. It stars Nick Cage, Diane Kruger, Harvey Keitel, John Voight's in it, Sean Bond. Yeah, it was directed by John Turteltaub, and I looked. He's done.
He's done a few things.
He did Cool Running in the 90s.
Really?
Yes. He did something with Bruce Willis, but I didn't even recognize. Like, he's not like this was his claim to fame.
One of the diehards.
It didn't look like I glanced again. This was like 20 seconds. Either way.
In any event,
so that's what we're talking about. And
so before we get into our
just random thoughts, what are your likes?
That's
general
what I was
likes?
Gonna say. Well, it's a lot of fun. It's very fast paced. I like the fact that once you get through Christopher Plummer's monologue about the olden times, you pretty much thrust right into the
adventure.
Yes. It pretty much starts right out. You're already treasure hunting.
Sure.
You don't have to do a whole lot of exposition.
Of course.
Although
along the way they definitely do.
They do, but it never feels like overly forced. A lot of it comes across as competently like conversational, and it never feels like, and now we're going to stop and talk about history and blah 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 blah. It always feels like it's meant to be happening.
Yeah, that's true. Again, like we touched on Phantom Menace, I like that it's not just a retelling of something. I would say it's similar in some ways, like Indiana Jones, but it's definitely. I wrote that it's like a modern version of Indiana Jones to a certain degree.
This came out before Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and until that point, audiences hadn't had a true Indiana Jones-esque movie in a very long time.
And like this 20-ish years.
Kind of filled that void, at least until we were disappointed by Crystal Skull when it came out.
It had fun moments, but that's another conversation.
I thought about the Tarzan swinging Shia LaBeouf.
Anyways, I thought the set design was really cool because again, a lot of it I think was an actual set.
Aside from the boat at the start, the wooden
even the boat of the
bit. No, I'm saying like those are the only actual like sets that they had to make. They used a lot of national parks. They used a lot of actual historical buildings, which I can appreciate and probably help them save money.
Yeah.
So let's touch on our main man, Nicolas Cage.
Okay, what about him?
Do you feel like this is unhinged Cage? Do you
No.
feel like this is more believable acting?
It's definitely more believable. Like
again, we're not quite at Mandy, but like
I still can't think of anything where he's more level-headed. Like this is where he's peak mainstream. Like he's not going crazy.
He was in a movie with Sean Connery.
The Rock?
Yes, I feel like he's probably a little bit more level-headed then.
Maybe. I've only seen bits and pieces.
Least, everyone else in that movie is also Nicolas Cage levels of screaming or whispering acting.
Maybe.
So it feels like he's a lot more normal.
Okay. Would you recast anyone?
If I were to make this today...
I think about it, I was like, I don't know if I'd recast... Got it. Wiggled out. There it goes. So who do we recast? I was thinking about it. I don't think I'd recast anyone.
But if we had to make a new one...
I don't think I would.
I think it would be unbelievable to have like a 50-year-old Nicolas Cage running around, jumping around.
Yeah, who would do such a thing? Indiana Jones?
Okay, well, it was unbelievable then too. So if I were to recast it now, someone who could be believably history and book smart. Um, I think I think a Paul Rudd would work.
No, too goofy.
That's a good
Too
point. That's
goofy.
a good point. That's a good
He's
point.
too Paul Rudd. Yeah,
Mm,
maybe like a Jeremy Renner.
that's not bad.
Yeah.
I would still keep John Voight,
I mean, now he's way too old.
but he's the old dad. It's kind of
Which
okay.
I mean, I wrote this later, but like his actual genuine acting chop shows, like the
Oh yeah.
ending.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like, oh, this is the actual part where it's believable.
Yes.
Where like he's talking to his son. I'm like, oh, it actually sounds like he is his son, kind of thing.
I
Uh,
would. I think if we still want to go with a
you could
attractive blonde,
No, but what I liked about her was she was attractive, but she wasn't so pretty, like so beautiful that would
yes,
like, oh, it.
like
She still seemed
what's that
normal
one Bond
enough.
where they have like uh, um, it's like Denise Richards playing
I have no idea.
like a nuclear physicist. It's completely unbelievable.
Well,
But
yes,
it's
that's
talking about
why
that.
that's why I think it's believable.
I think if we were to make it today, I would say you could make maybe Karen Gillan, make her blonde and put her in that role, and she'd be believable.
Uh,
Or maybe
I mean, you don't have. She doesn't have to be blonde.
Anya Taylor Joy.
Too pretty.
I
I mean,
suppose
and too like very specific. She has a very specific look,
she does,
so I
like a
don't think
scared deer.
it works.
I'm not complaining. I'm just saying her eyes are on her temples.
I would say that man, that John Voight's hair in the beginning. Granted,
Is
maybe
John Voight's hair in the beginning of the beginning where there's the flashback where it is obviously a very bad wig? Is it any worse than Nicolas Cage's hair throughout the entire movie?
Nick Cage is rough. I will admit his hair is rough, and
I can't even tell if it's bad because it's a hairpiece or if it's bad just because it's his hair.
well, I literally wrote at one point, it looks like Cage is molting.
It's not a great look.
Well, even like his face and the hairline and everything, I'm just like, oof.
How very teethy he is.
Yeah, he's teethy.
I'm not sure who I would. I would cast Donald Glover Jr. as a Riley character. I think he would be a good comedic foil and still come across as being intelligent.
Mm.
He kind of was already that character in The Martian.
Yeah. Yes.
I think he'd be good.
Let's see what else we got. Would you recommend this? Yes, I would recommend it. It's fun. It's enjoyable. I wouldn't say like, oh, this is cinema, but I think it's fun. Like if you just want to have an enjoyable, like,
I think it takes a suspension of disbelief, but nothing.
Well, most movies do.
But nothing that wouldn't be required for like a Marvel movie today, and probably even less.
Well, and it's not so fantastical that it has to be like a superhero. Like it's like,
That's true.
It's history based, so like it's not real, but like it could have happened. I mean, come on.
Aside from the treasure part, a lot of it was very real.
Yes, they used real things to make it's a historical fiction.
Yes.
What else? Sorry, go ahead.
No, after you, my friend.
What else has Riley done? Again, he's the side character, but I'm just like, man, I do not recognize him for shit.
I think he was in this. He's obviously in the second one.
Sure. He was in the remake that they did one season and it was terrible.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See,
I saw that.
When we sat down
I
to
Googled
watch
it
this,
and I was curious. I was like, oh, he is in it. This was
the first time I remembered that this even existed, which means, boy, it can't have been that good if I'd never heard of it.
Yes.
I wanted... Was he the main guy in Hellboy?
What?
Yeah, the guy...
He was in Hellboy.
I know he's not. He's not
Ron
Perlman.
You said main guy.
The main human character.
No, he was not. I know you're thinking of it. It's not him.
Then honestly, I don't know what else has been other than these two things.
I was also thinking, again, sort of along the lines of who, like recasting. If this came out in 2004, who else auditioned for Nick Cage's part?
Probably lots of people.
Like, I wonder if, like, is that Robert Downey Jr.?
RDJ, his big comeback was
Iron Man. So yes,
it would another 4 years.
Exactly.
So probably not.
But who else was like?
I mean, you probably would have gotten Orlando Bloom. You probably would have gotten Johnny Depp. You probably would have gotten people who were fresh off of Two Towers.
The Two Towers? Never mind. I was making a bad Twin Towers connection in my brain.
Oh
Anyway, yeah,
no,
yeah.
no, I mean the fictional Twin Towers.
Yes.
The
Yes.
We're talking about Lord of the Rings. We're just making that undeniably clear. I mean Lord of the Rings.
Sure. DiCaprio, maybe?
Yeah, I think he would have been too young to play.
Kevin Bacon? I could see Kevin Bacon doing it.
Yeah.
For the era, like
Oh yeah, absolutely. I
in
mean,
2004. Yeah.
Kevin Bacon just shows up in everything.
Yeah, I can see Johnny Depp. I Googled, maybe Tom Hanks at the time.
I
But I feel
don't
like Tom
know.
Hanks was bigger than this, if that
Yes.
makes sense. Like,
Well, Catch Me If You Can would have been out in a similar time span,
mm.
so I feel like this would have been a downstep.
And I feel like Ben Stiller was already doing Night at the Museum around this time.
The first one at the very least, but also I can't see him in a Nicolas Cage role. I don't think it works.
No, I don't think so either. Okay, I was just curious because I was like, oh man, this is such like a. I mean, it was a big movie.
Oh, I mean, this made it its money back and then some.
Yes.
Both of them were very very successful, and then Disney's like, let's not touch this property for 15 years.
Again, they went on to other more profitable things.
Pretty much the year after the second one comes out, they acquire Marvel Studios and start pumping out Marvel movies. So they change their whole business model around from let's put out original IPs to let's reboot existing franchises.
To a certain degree.
The same thing they also start doing with the ill-fated Star Warses.
Which I like new content. I know people are like, "Oh, live and die by the originals."
I don't know.
And the prequels are fun. They're not amazing. And the sequels, there are fun, great parts. But I'm like, oh, yes.
I mean,
this is a conversation for a different episode.
The sequels are worth it just for Rogue One. I think Rogue One's a masterpiece.
It's pretty amazing.
But back to this masterpiece.
I tossed in a couple quotes. It's a riddle when they're on the boat. And I'm like, yeah, there's so many times where I'm like, yes, no shit, dude.
One thing that I don't like about the writing in this movie, if I had to nitpick it, is that the audience will see something happen, and then either Sean Bean's character or Nicolas Cage's character will then describe the obvious of what just happened to make sure the audience understands it. It really it feels like it's holding your hand the entire time, which is okay because it's not trying to be like a David Fincher movie.
Well, that's why I'm like, I wonder if like
read into everything, but like
if Nolan or Fincher directed this, how different would it be?
Well, I mean, everyone would be dead, and like someone would end up being raped by someone at the end of
it was a Fincher one, yes.
If it's a Nolan movie, it stars DiCaprio and takes place in the past, the present, and the future at the same time.
Potentially, yes.
Michael
Caine.
Michael Caine shows up
somewhere along the way. Yeah, he's John Boyd. Yes. Dude, that's fucking perfect. There we go. What else?
And Joseph Gordon-Levitt will also be there somehow.
Yeah, he's a sidekick.
That's not a bad casting, actually.
It's not a bad casting.
I still don't think DiCaprio works.
And yeah, I would not put DiCaprio, but I've always liked Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
I wish he did more stuff.
I just I watched a limited show of his. It's 7 episodes. Is about Uber, like the company.
An odd choice.
He's the CEO, and I think I have heard of it. It's called Super Pumped. Yeah, it was actually really good. But anyway, I also let's see what else I got. I've got this whole movie is basically a commercial for American history and monuments and things like that. And
I'm okay with that,
which I kind of like.
I'm not that I want to be like, oh, you have to be patriotism.
No, like, me neither.
It is. I'm of the opinion that it is important that young kids be interested in history in general.
Sure, I mean,
if you have to fictionalize it a little bit, then that's okay with me. I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
So one thing that I noticed while watching this, because this is the music that I listen to, music in this is really interesting. It reminds me of the first Matrix, to where it does have orchestral parts to it, but it has almost like a techno beat through the entire movie.
Some of it, yeah, I did notice that.
I really enjoyed it. I think this is Trevor Rabin.
Oh, of course, my guy Trevor.
Hey, just because I have knowledge, you do not. I believe this is Trevor Rabin, who also would show up a few times in things like The Day After Tomorrow.
Oh, The Day After Tomorrow.
I'm going to smack you.
I'm sorry. Keep going.
Really insulting that I'm trying to talk about something that I know about.
Hey,
I'm just trivializing it.
I'm just having a good time. It's all right. Anything else besides the sound? Okay. I'm sure it's of the time, but the outfit, some of them, I actually was like, oh, I wear this.
Ogres have layers, onions have layers, characters have layers.
Yes. once you this is one of those movies where once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Every character is wearing 6 articles of clothing as a top.
It's like
in every scene,
t-shirt, button-up sweater, dress coat, or just like a sports jacket with jeans and sneakers. Granted, all of this is very early 2000s. Some of the looks, I'm like, oh, this is rough, and some of them
work, some of them are rough.
Some of them I thought I was like, oh, I would wear this. I would wear this today.
When they start out in the Arctic, right? Because that makes sense. They're in the Arctic. Towards the end third of the movie, where they are running around DC in the middle of the summer.
Well,
there's no way you'd be
the
wearing
East Coast
all
is.
that.
I don't. It might be springtime.
I mean,
and even then, usually
and hot. I feel like.
I don't know. I'm just saying, some of it was good, some of it wasn't. I don't know. This is one of those movies that like has some of the classic lines that you'll see everywhere, like the whispering of "I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence," or I hope it's not from Stan, where she got the yes. button, and I was like, who the fuck is Stan?
Why do we hate Stan? What is Stan's backstory? I need the Stan spinoff.
I need Stan lore. But then that Dr. Herbert guy who was with her at the ball, in my brain, I was like, is this Stan? Is this a guy at her office that won't leave her alone?
I feel like that's actually a missed opportunity where they could have made him Stan and made that line make any sense whatsoever.
Yes.
Because there's no other reason for him to be there other than to be a cockblock.
Well, he gets the finger, not to spoil a movie from 20 years ago, literally 20 years ago at this point.
Oh, the glass flutes passing around.
Yes,
I have an issue with this scene.
I don't. I think it's fine.
Okay,
I do think
I know why it happens.
Yes,
that he needs her fingerprints.
Yes.
Okay, so
which I also just, by the way, I love heist movies. Just love them. They're just fun.
Heist movies are a lot of fun. Maybe we do another one after this.
At least somewhere along the way.
Job of Jason Statham?
It's great.
It's great.
Wait, no, I've seen Inside Man. Have you seen Inside Man? Inside Man is fantastic.
With Jason Statham.
The Bank Job.
That is a great movie. We should do that next. It's on Netflix. We'll do it next.
Okay, all right.
So we're setting the scene, right? Okay. I'm Nicolas Cage.
Oh my God.
You're Diane Kruger. So we're standing like right next to each other. We have not Stan over here.
Yes.
We're both holding completely full things of champagne.
Well, Stan did not realize that she had one.
Stan comes up, sees that she has one, offers it to her anyway.
No. If you notice, he does not offer.
I remember it.
He does not offer, and then Nicolas Cage is like, "Oh, I'll take yours so you can take his," because he's trying to be a gentleman, but also getting her fingerprints because he's suave. He's smooth.
Is he though?
In this movie.
It doesn't make any sense to me that they're just passing around these 3 glasses full of champagne for no reason. I understand why this scene happens for the logic of the movie, but in a normal situation, this wouldn't make any sense.
It's not a normal... Dude, they're trying to steal the Declaration of Independence.
Yes.
I did think the toast, like if the whole heist is to get away with it, well, he's talking about like, oh... cheers to the people who do the right thing, even though it's the wrong thing. I'm like, dude, it's clearly sus that you're saying this when you just talked about stealing it.
We were talking about the Prestige. We were talking about, the movie is constantly throwing it in your face about what's happening. This is so obvious comparatively.
Yes.
Like, she has to be like, oh, what does that mean?
Exactly.
I don't know. Like, he's saying in unspoken words, I'm stealing something. I'm doing it for a good cause. And then he just downs an entire glass of champagne and doesn't burp and whatever.
The bubbles, dude. Too many bubbles.
It'd be a lot of bubbles.
I don't know why I picked up on this, but when the bad guys, when it cuts to them back and forth, when they're going through a hallway, they shoot a guy with a taser gun and they drag him off. His name tag, of all the names they could have picked, I don't know why they picked this.
I didn't notice it.
Nigel Ferguson, like this most like, not. It's a name.
That's a vaguely British government name.
I just felt like it wasn't like definitely wasn't American. It definitely wasn't like
it's not like an everyman name that you would
it wasn't exactly. It was like and maybe this is like someone from the cast that they want to tribute or something.
I'm sure things like that.
Because I was like, that seems oddly specific. That's why I thought of it. Did you see the guy wearing the do-rag driving the
yes.
I was like, oh, this is
2004.
Again, someone had to audition and it got paid for these parts. I love the part where she's like freaking out. They literally just rescue her, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And she's freaking out. He's like, "Are you hungry?" And I was like, "Man, I feel like This is where every boyfriend is trying to like discern what his girlfriend actually
Have you
wants.
drunken any water today whatsoever?
But I have a headache.
I'm a headache. I'm sore. I'm tired. I'm cranky. Have you eaten? Have you drank any water?
Yes.
No,
So
I had
that's
Starbucks and
anyway,
candy.
and that's what it made me think of. It made me chuckle.
I
That's all.
mean, in his defense, is there any situation where you're freaking out where food wouldn't make you feel better?
It's true. Food's pretty fantastic. Uh, I do stand by the fact that even though she's very pretty, but not too pretty where like it's distracting or anything, she's still too good looking for him. Like the
I mean
coupling,
this with the greatest respect to Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage,
and maybe
I think, would be believable with someone like Frances McDormand. Like they're the same level of attractive, I think.
Somewhere in between. Maybe she's, and I'm thinking in the
Like,
movie. I'm not
right,
talking about the
I'm
actors.
thinking like 2004, like
Sure,
back when
maybe, yeah,
like
maybe,
like Burn After Reading.
maybe.
Like,
I just mean like in the movie itself.
oh yeah, no,
Besides,
it's a little unbelievable.
well, I've
and they don't have that much chemistry.
they don't. It doesn't really feel like that. And
Like,
there's a
they
couple
spend
times
the
where
movie arguing.
they sprinkle in some like, oh, they both know history. I'm like, that's great, but I feel like it takes more than that either way.
They spend the vast majority of the movie arguing. He kisses her twice at the end, and then suddenly, oh, you got the girl.
And they have a house together. Yeah, just
I don't know. That part seems a little bit forced to me. But,
potentially.
you know, you're focused on other things happening. That's okay.
Yes.
This to me reminded me slightly of Tom Cruise movies because they spend the majority of the movie running.
Yeah.
Like there is rarely a point where they're standing still other than the opening when they're looking at the declaration. Other than that, they're running from here, they're running from Ian, they're running away from Ian, they're running down some stairs.
I don't remember the exact quote, but it was George Miller recently was talking about Furiosa and Mad Max, where he explains why there's so little dialogue. He's like, "Oh, movies are meant to be like they're a lot more interesting in motion." So, like, I get it. Like, it actually it forces you to pay attention because you're not.
I mean, Max doesn't speak until the third act of the movie.
Exactly.
I'm sure he knows what he's talking about.
Exactly. So, yes, no, it's a lot of them moving and running and doing things, but that also means you actually have
that means the plot's moving all the time.
Moving, but also you actually have to watch. You can't zone out and just listen.
It's true.
What else? Let's see. Okay, when they first got the glasses and they are unrolling the declaration, and he's like, "Oh my god, this is the first time this has been in this place since it was signed."
The fifth time you've looked at it.
Well, also no, like his thing was the first time that document had been in that place since it had been signed, and I was like, "Wow." What I wrote was boner during declaration at the hall because I was like, I feel like you are way too excited that this piece of paper is in this building. And sure,
I don't want to have any kind of visualization.
I'm
for
just
Nicolas
saying
Cage's boner.
He's very passionate about history. That's all.
And
it seemed in the moment
fantastic for him. You could have used any other word to describe that.
Well, that's where I thought it showed him being more Nick Cage, where it felt a little more like, Jesus, dude, all right, we fucking get it.
I mean, it's not leaving Las Vegas, but
no. I also wrote, I wanted to figure, maybe I can Google it and figure it out, but I liked the suspenders that were on Harvey Keitel when they were in there was a cool design. I don't know what it was, but I want them. Also,
I had forgotten he actually shows up.
I like him a lot in this. Actually, I think I wouldn't recast
in pretty much anything. I don't.
Yeah, no, he's great.
I can't think of a thing that he shows up in that is bad because of him.
Yeah, no, I like him in
granted,
pretty much everything.
A lot of what I know him from is Tarantino movies.
Sure.
But, like, even still.
Yeah. Did you recognize his name, Sandusky?
It sounds familiar, but I couldn't place it.
It's also one of the main scouts, for some reason, in Moonrise Kingdom. That's the main kid who runs away.
That's why.
I don't know why.
And he also shows up in that.
Oh, yeah, he's the lead scoutmaster dude at the end, yeah.
Something like that.
Yes.
I mean, he shows up in every Wes Anderson movie as something.
I also wrote, kind of sounds like wooden teeth when Nick Cage talks. I couldn't.
Teethy, and he doesn't open his mouth a whole lot unless he's yelling.
I'm gonna steal the Declaration of Independence.
That's kind of
I don't know
his whispered
that's
or
what
screamed comes from. Is that he doesn't open his mouth very much whenever he's talking. And so it constantly sounds like this whenever he's not yelling about other things.
Yeah, he really only pronounces when he's loud, which it's a form of acting and maybe not something that I always appreciate. But
so speaking of forms of acting and your vocal performance, how do you feel about Sean Bond in anything where he sounds exactly the same no matter what character he's playing.
Oh, see, I actually, again, I would not recast him. I liked him as the bad guy. I think he was good.
Okay, but like he sounds the same in this as he does in Troy playing a Greek.
Okay.
That's that's a problem.
Yeah. The accent does not make the actor. The actor makes the accent.
I don't know about that.
What I did find was interesting was so the revolutionaries is the people who are trying to hide the treasure from the British. Sean
In a
Bond.
roundabout way,
Sean Bond is British.
vaguely. I don't know where
No,
exactly
but
he's from, but
he is British.
he's definitely not American.
He is British. So I just thought I was like, oh, it's kind of the same thing in modern where Nick Cage is the Americans trying to
That is true.
hide that. And it was kind of a cool like, oh, I don't know if it's probably definitely not on purpose, but it was just a cool like, oh, I saw
I don't
that.
know. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. It's
Sure.
on purpose. So something that I was thinking towards the end of the movie, again, spoilers for the 20-year-old
Yes.
thing. They're sitting in the church. They're talking about, okay, we want to split this up between all these different, museums.
Oh, at the very end, yes.
And I think if you made that today, that wouldn't happen. I think it would be, we need to keep this and be rich and be cool. I feel like if you made this today, that wouldn't be looked on with the same sort of noble gesture that it probably would have been then.
I don't know about that. I don't know. Maybe. I did think the cinematography kind of so.
Well, to be fair,
Granted, it's hard to do when they're running all the time, but like there wasn't a lot of interest. There wasn't. It wasn't captivating. It wasn't interesting to look at.
It's nothing to write home about, but I do think so. Something that we've talked about, I want to say in the episode past with Ready or Not, is that is very heavily and kind of ugly color graded. This one is color graded, but it's a lot nicer. They kind of just pop all the golds and they deepen all the browns. I think it helps it make it look more adventure-y. I think it looks a lot nicer.
Sure, I just meant I meant less color and more just the framing and the shots themselves.
The cinematography is not memorable.
No, not at all. I felt very generic.
One nice shot when they're at the
there's one or two. There's one or two.
Where he's standing there
yes.
That's nice.
Yes.
I mean, there's no other way to say this. It doesn't sound suspicious. Back shots always look nice.
Why do you got to preface it?
I don't know how else to say it. Okay. Shooting a character from the back always looks cool no matter what.
From behind,
yes. From behind.
There we go.
Always looks cool no matter what the movie is.
For the most part, yeah.
But even so, I think things like the recent Mission Impossibles come out looking better cinematography-wise compared to this. I think there is a way to do it better.
Sure. I mean, there's proof.
Because it's kind of a similar vibe. There's a lot of running. There's a lot of action.
Yes.
I think there's probably a way it could have been done better, but it doesn't look bad. It's unremarkable, but it's not disappointing.
But I also don't think you should blame the era on that, because I also think this is the same time that Lord of the Rings is the same time that Pirates of the Caribbean. Like it didn't make me think of Lord of the Rings. It made me think of Pirates. Just for like the
they also use some
just
of
for the vibe, dude. No, not even the music. Just like the I don't know. I don't know. I can't.
Marvel Disney era.
Yes, where it was like, oh, it's action adventure, and it's not
Marvel.
I hate that that's such a quantifier now, but
you know what I mean, though.
No, I definitely agree.
It's not a formulaic turned out movie.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, and that's not just a Marvel symptom. That's
not at all.
Starting to affect a lot of different things, but that is where you know it from.
That's why I actually think it's a lot of fun, because it's not that.
That's true.
So
I don't think you can make this today and have it be as good.
Probably not, to be perfectly honest. I think the only way, maybe this is a separate conversation, I don't know, but
we're here to have the conversation. Let's hash it out.
Save it for the pod, dude.
This is the pod.
What? I feel like it's been proven recently where like the stuff that's actually making the biggest money is stuff from actual like artists, like Dune or Barbie or whatever. Like the stuff that's not formulaic is actually doing well.
I mean, Marvel's tanking. DC is not doing well.
Well, DC has been rebuilding for either way.
DC
Yes.
has been in some murky waters for a good old long time.
Yeah, but Marvel has seen that like
things
they're
that
not
are not a franchise
are
release
actually
are doing a
doing
lot better.
exactly.
I mean,
There's
A24 has been doing well.
which
I mean,
I'm all here for.
Nolan's doing well when he's moved away from doing superhero stuff.
I mean, he did good superhero stuff, but
That's true, but that's not what we're talking about.
yes, I understand. I again, separate subject, whatever, but I do want him to do not biopics. Like
I'm
Oppenheimer, again, you should watch it. It was very
I
good,
want to be in the right kind of sound setting for that movie.
which I totally understand. It's definitely worth watching. But I was like, oh man, I like his original content is like just
It's
it
so
scratches an
it
itch for
is
me.
it
That's
is
all.
it is unique and odd and things you can't get from other places for the dog.
Yeah.
I would like him. I would like biopics to take a break
Oh,
because
you
we've
definitely.
had
Well,
a bunch in the past couple of years, and the only one that I can think of that is like good was Oppenheimer. We've
I
had the
heard
Bob Marley. We've
I
had
heard Bob Marley was not bad. I heard Rocket Man was fun.
Rocket Man is fun, but that's more of like a
Bohemian
fictionalization.
Bohemian Rhapsody. I didn't see it.
I've seen bits of it. It's not bad. It's a good showcase of acting, but it's
Well, just I
not.
saw a trailer last week for the Back to Black.
That's what I was going to mention. The
What's her
Amy
name? Amy
Winehouse
White. And
movie.
I'm like, man,
I have no
this
strong
doesn't.
opinions on Amy Winehouse. I don't want to watch that.
And again, it's not. I think of when you do a picture like that, your audience is only so big.
Yes.
Whereas if you pick, I mean, because I saw another one where like they're doing a Bob Dylan one, I'm like, yeah,
Again,
but
the people who care about Bob Dylan are
exactly. There's very specific people.
that is a interest that is dying off literally
Yes.
and not literally.
Yes.
But back to this.
So yeah, any other thoughts you can think of? That's all I had written down for National Treasure, but I would see the second one.
I would watch the second one.
Yeah.
Would you want them to make a third one? Not
No.
a reboot. Would you want them to continue the story with the same characters?
No, I think they ran their course. And especially, I wouldn't want them being super old trying to find more. I mean, no,
That's true.
it's fine. I think
true.
2 is fun, and I'm like, okay, take the money that you definitely earned from this and try a different original idea.
Which Disney is having their issues with at the moment anyway, but they could do that.
I'm sure they'll figure it out.
So, closing thoughts. Just umbrella closing thoughts about the movie.
Fun. Dan Kruger's a babe. Nick Cage.
Nick Cage is going to be
Nick Cage. What else?
I think I'd go with yes, it's fun.
I would recommend it.
It is a good movie for a younger audience.
Sure. No, you don't have to be a kid.
You don't have to be a kid, but I think this is something you could show to a kid, which would be helpful for them to be interested in things.
Sure.
That they wouldn't have known about before.
Potentially, yeah.
I think this is a good movie to, like, bridge into more historical dramas.
Sure. What time of day would you see this? If you're like, oh, the optimal time. Does this feel like an afternoon watch? Is this like Friday night, 7 p.m. We're going to the movies? Is this a Wednesday afternoon?
I don't think if they released this to theaters, I would go to watch it.
No, I'm saying back then, or just okay. I'm not even saying theater. I'm just saying in general. When do you think the best time
I've never been an early morning movie person myself. But
you're not answering the question.
I'm trying to answer the question, my brother. So what we did, we watched this in the afternoon. I think it was fine then.
Yeah.
If anything, you make it a double feature. You take the afternoon and the evening, and you just watch both of them.
Yeah. I don't think I could sit back to back, but yeah, having a break in between, I would do that.
I think this is a good weekend, no plans.
Yes.
You want to kill a few hours, watch something perhaps a little intellectually lacking but fun.
Yeah.
I think that fits it really well.
Okay. And if people see this and they're like, oh man, this was fun. What else can I watch that's like this?
Oh, geez. I mean, I would say the original Mummy.
Okay.
With Brendan Fraser. Well, I guess that's not the original Mummy. The Brendan Fraser Mummy.
Okay.
Obviously.
Again, I feel like they probably.
Original 3.
See, I was thinking about this. I don't know if it's the original 3.
Indiana Joneses.
I think it's the third one only.
Really? Why?
Second one is too mystical.
The second one.
First one is too religious. The third one actually has like
The
booby
third
traps
one
and
is
trials.
religious.
No, but it's not just
They're
like
finding the
just
cup of Christ.
just listen. But they also have to go through. There's more adventure to it. The first one, oh, they basically there's not enough. Like it's too like, oh, we find this box, we open this box. Oh man, all the souls went out and everyone died. Even
There's
if
a
we
lot more action going on in number 3.
yes, but it just seems like a more fully developed story, and it involves his father,
It's true.
aka also John Voight. So
Not John
no, I'm
Voight.
saying like his
That's John
character.
Connery.
I fucking know that.
Duncan, you seem confused. I would say I would recommend action movies of the era from around this because they all have
Yeah,
a similar feel to where
yeah,
they weren't a formulaic action movie
yeah.
like we just said.
Pirates,
First
Mummy.
Pirates, the first Mummy, maybe the second Mummy if you want some
Eh,
more cheesiness.
I'd go back 20 years and watch The Last Crusade.
Was that 20 years?
Isn't it in the 80s?
I mean 80s, early 90s.
Either way. Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
I'm sure there's other ones, but
I'm sure there is.
I would recommend other action movies of the same era.
Yeah.
I think they all have a similar feel
Yes.
that this one also has.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We
I
might.
think out of 5, I would give this a 4.5.
4.5. Again, earlier I was joking when I said, "Is this a perfect movie?" But
Well, the more I think about it, if you go in wanting this kind of a movie, there's not a whole lot I would add to this that would improve it.
sure.
Like
I agree. I agree.
I can think of some things that are detractors, which is why I think it loses half a star for me. I think in the middle section it's a little drawn out.
A little bit, yeah.
I think that is the one failing of the movie is that they do halt everything to put in a lot of explaining about things that I think they could do
Maybe
in other scenes. But other than that, I think for the kind of movie it is, there's not a whole lot I can complain about. I think it's a good 4.5 out of 5 for me.
Okay.
You know, it's a
I would say if you
middling fun action movie.
yes, if you're taking it for what it is, sure, I'd go 4.5.
Yeah.
If I was like really like grading it between cinematography, the actual acting,
I think it's easily a 3.
I said 3.5 because I'm like
Like if I wanted to be serious and nitpick the movie, there's a lot of things that are wrong with it and things that leave desire.
Sure.
But if I'm just looking to have fun, there's not a whole lot else I would complain.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, next time we might talk about the second one. We might talk about something else. We still figure out a name for this at some point and all that good stuff. We'll see
Personally,
how.
I would like to watch Fall Guy with you.
I'm going to see it.
It's a ton of fun. You will love it.
I will see it.
So yeah, maybe the second
maybe
one,
we'll talk about that. We'll see.
we will let you know when it happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise, it's been fun.
It has actually.
Yeah.
I hadn't planned on rewatching this, but I'm like, yeah, why not?
It came on the other
It's
day.
been like 10 years.
It came
Why
on the
not?
other day at work for a couple minutes. I was like, oh, this is fun. I'm gonna not watch it so I can actually sit down and watch it. It was actually lots of
Kind
fun.
of what I miss about my new job. They don't have a TV in the break room, so it's not like
Well,
I can't catch fun things on a cable.
most people will not know this, but I work at a movie theater that has a lounge that just constantly plays movies. So there's always something on, and I'm half the time I just notice it and think nothing of it, and half the time I'm like, oh, I could sit and watch that again. So
I do not work at a movie theater. I work at a construction supply warehouse.
Yes, so a little different, but either way, yes, the interest in movies is roughly probably the same, and yeah, it's nothing else that I can think of you want to add, but I'd say go watch it and obviously have your own opinion about it. You can
if you have an opinion and want to share it with us, I'm sure we have comment sections where you can find us.
Yeah.
When we post this episode somewhere where you could let us know.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe you've seen something that we've missed. Maybe you have. Maybe you want to correct us on some piece of information that we pulled out of our behinds.
Yeah, it's quite possible. If you guys know of a movie that you're like, oh man, if you guys actually enjoyed this, you should try this. Recommend that.
Let us know
wherever you find us. If you find us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, whatever it is,
Instagram, maybe Facebook. We don't know.
We'll see what happens with that.
Facebook's for boomers, so
let's not label. That's kind of rude.
That's fair.
subscribe or review, comment, like, what all the buzzwords that you hear in
Give us those
every.
engagements that we so desperately need.
Oh God, just all the things that every other podcast I'm sure asks you for. But if you had fun, we had fun. So thanks for listening.
We're done rambling. Catch us again next time.